holidays. I met you in the Zoom meet. I was really happy to see you all there. Majority of you had attended the meeting, and I was able to discuss with you about a lot of things that day. Today, we will be continuing with the chapter or with the topic which we had already started, that is excretion in plants and animals. Excretion in plants already we have completed in the last class. Today, we will be learning excretion in humans. So first, we will discuss the excretory system. Already excretory system is familiar to you. You have learned in the smaller classes. Excretory system consists of a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, urinary bladder and urethra. We will be learning something new in this class, that is the structure of kidney, the functional unit of kidney, that is nephron, and how urine is formed. It is a very, very important topic where you can expect 3-mark questions. Okay, so this topic I will be explaining with the help of a video. So it will be very, very clear to you. Please understand and learn it. So after the class, I will be giving you a few questions. Read the lesson and answer to those questions. Hope you will do so. I am really happy to see your notebook. You have done your work very neat and tidy. So continue the same. Shall we go to the video? Okay.
Excretion. The biological process involved in removal of harmful metabolic waste from the body is called excretion. As in other processes like nutrition, respiration, transportation, different organisms use different strategies to do excretion. In case of unicellular organisms, wastes are removed from the body surface into the surrounding water by the process called diffusion. But in the case of multicellular organisms, specialized organs are evolved to perform excretion. Excretion in human beings. The chief organ that is involved in excretion is kidneys. The excretory system of human beings consists of a pair of kidneys, that is right kidney and left kidney, a pair of ureters, right ureter and left ureter, and urinary bladder and urethra. Kidneys are located in the abdomen on either side of the backbone. Kidney is the basic filtration unit.
So now let us learn the structure of kidneys. Kidneys are reddish brown, bean-shaped paired organs and are about 10 centimeters long and 6 centimeters wide. These lie along the posterior abdominal wall on either side of the backbone. They are protected by last 2 pairs of ribs. The right kidney is located at a slightly lower level than the left one, as the right side of the abdominal cavity is occupied by the liver. In the median surface of each kidney, a notch called hilum is present. Hilum acts as a route of entry and exit for the blood vessels. The longitudinal section of kidney shows 2 distinct regions, an outer cortex and an inner medulla. Outer cortex has a dark red color, while the inside of the medulla is pale in color. The cortex region consists of Malpighian body. What is Malpighian body? The Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus together is called as Malpighian capsule. So Malpighian body, proximal and distal convoluted tubules, and the medulla contains Henle's, that is loop of Henle, and the main collecting ducts. A pair of adrenal glands is present on the top of the kidneys. Pelvis is a funnel-shaped cavity in the kidney that collects the urine and passes it down to the ureters. Each kidney is composed of millions of nephrons, which are the main filtering units in the kidney. Now let us learn the structure of nephron and how urine is formed. As I told you, each kidney consists of millions of nephrons. Each nephron is a tubular structure closed at one end and open at the other end. It consists of Malpighian tubule or renal tubule, a nephric tubule, that is secretory part of the nephron, and a collecting tubule. This may be complicated when you hear, but when you learn the structure, it will be very clear. You can see here in this picture the renal artery, which is given in red color. Renal artery brings the blood to the nephron. Each nephron, you can see it is given in pale color, yellow color. It has got, one end has got a cup-shaped structure, which is called as the Bowman's capsule. The red color, what is given in the red color is the renal artery. Renal artery brings the blood with nitrogenous waste material. This renal, it is called renal afferent artery. This artery, once it enters into the Bowman's capsule, it branches into finer vessels, which is called as capillaries. These capillaries present inside the Bowman's capsule is called as glomerulus. So glomerulus is a dense knot of capillary network found within the Bowman's capsule. It is often asked 1 mark question. What is glomerulus? It is a dense network of capillaries found within the Bowman's capsule. This capillary network develops from the artery which brings the waste products and excess water from the various parts of the body. The function of the glomerulus is to filter the blood passing through it. You know, the renal artery, afferent artery, which brings the blood, will be a little more wider than the blood vessel which takes back the blood after filtration. Once again I repeat, the blood vessel which brings the blood into the glomerulus is called as afferent, afferent, afferent renal artery. And after filtration, the waste materials, the liquid waste along with certain useful substances like amino acids, sugars, water, etc. will be filtered and moves out of the glomerulus, and that is called as glomerular filtrate. The filtered blood passes out of the glomerulus through the efferent renal artery. EFFERENT, efferent renal artery. This efferent renal artery is little more thinner than the afferent renal artery which brings the blood into the glomerulus. Hope this is clear. So these capillaries and the renal tubule, convoluted tubule, all these are intertwined. Renal convoluted tubule has 3 main parts. Here we learn the structure of the nephron and how urine is formed. Okay. So first, after filtration, the urine passes through the convoluted tubule. We don't say it as urine, it is a glomerular filtrate, as I said before. After filtration, from the glomerulus what comes out is a glomerular filtrate. This glomerular filtrate, along with the nitrogenous waste materials, also contains useful substances like glucose, amino acids, salts, and major amount of water. So this convoluted tubule can be divided into 3 main parts. First one, proximal convoluted tubule, that is the first part of the tubule which starts from the glomerulus. Next comes the loop of Henle, and the later part or the last part is called as the distal convoluted tubule, which is far from the glomerulus. This distal convoluted tubule opens into the collecting duct. Hope this part is clear. So the glomerular filtrate passes through the proximal convoluted tubule, then at the loop of Henle, and then distal convoluted tubule, which opens into the collecting duct. Next, I told you after the first filtration from the glomerulus, the filtrate contains useful substances like sugar, amino acid, salts, and a major part of water. These substances, useful substances, are reabsorbed into the blood at the distal end, that is in the loop of Henle. After that, the remaining liquid is called as urine. It contains only the waste materials. So this millions of nephrons, as I have told you already, each kidney contains millions of nephrons. All these nephrons opens into a collecting duct. Collecting duct opens into the ureters. So urine passes through the ureters and gets collected in the urinary bladder. The amount of urine produced depends upon, the amount of water reabsorbed from the glomerular filtrate depends upon how much excess water is there in the body and on how much dissolved wastes are there to be excreted or removed. Now let us discuss how urine is formed. I explained to you where filtration takes place, what are the main parts of the convoluted tubule, all that. Now, urine formation involves three main steps. That is filtration, second reabsorption, and third secretion. So here in filtration, where does filtration take place? Yes, in the glomerulus. What is the filtrate called? Yes, it is called as glomerular filtrate. When it passes through the proximal convoluted tubule in the later end, the second step starts, that is reabsorption. In the glomerular filtrate, useful substances were there. These useful substances are again reabsorbed into the blood. This is secreted into the veins, renal vein, and the veins take back the blood for circulation. The remaining fluid after reabsorption is called as urine. Urine empties into the ureter collecting duct. From the collecting duct, there are many collecting ducts in the kidney. These collecting ducts will open into the ureters. Through the ureter, urine passes to the urinary bladder and it is excreted out or removed out through the urethra. Now I have explained to you the excretory system, the structure of kidney and the structure of neuron, and how urine is formed. You may now watch a video in which you can learn all this, or you can understand all these things which I explained now properly.
In this video, we are going to learn about the structure and function of a nephron. Nephron is the basic functional unit of the kidneys that consists of a renal corpuscle and the tubule attached to it. The word nephron is derived from the Greek word nephros, meaning kidney. Each kidney contains approximately 1 million nephrons, which perform several important functions of our body, including waste excretion, maintaining the body's pH, regulation of blood pressure, and several other functions. So let's go through the structure and function of a nephron and learn more in detail about the different parts of nephron and the role of renal tubule in urine formation and excretion process. Let's first start with the basic structure of a nephron. So nephrons are microscopic structures located in the kidney, and kidney has two important gross regions, an outer cortex and an inner medulla. And if you look at this nephron, you can see that a part of this nephron is present in the cortex of the kidney and part of this nephron is placed in the medulla of the kidney. This is an important point to remember as it plays a significant role in the formation of urine that we will discuss later in this video. So the nephron is a tube-like structure whose length varies from 35 to 55 millimeters, and the structure of nephron can be basically divided into two major portions: the Bowman's capsule and the renal tubule. At one end, the tube is closed, folded and expanded into a cup-like structure which is known as the Bowman's capsule. Now the Bowman's capsule was discovered by this guy, Sir William Bowman, at the age of 25. He was an English surgeon and histologist who is also credited with the publications of two historical books, The Physiological Anatomy and Physiology of Man, Encyclopedia of Anatomy and Physiology. So coming back to the nephron, we discussed about the cup-shaped structure at one end which is known as the Bowman's capsule. The space inside the Bowman's capsule is known as the Bowman's space. The Bowman's capsule encloses a cluster of blood vessels which is known as the glomerulus. The word glomerulus is derived from the Latin word glomer, meaning a ball of thread. So you can see why this is known as a glomerulus. The blood vessel which brings the blood inside the glomerulus is known as the afferent vessel. And the blood vessel taking the blood out of the glomerulus is known as the efferent vessel. Remember, A comes before E, so afferent brings the blood in and efferent takes the blood out. The Bowman's capsule and glomerulus together constitute the renal corpuscle. Okay, so this was about one end of the nephron. The other end is known as the renal tubule. Now the word tubule just means a small tube, and as you can see, the renal tubule is a long and folded tube-like structure that emerges from the Bowman's capsule at one end and it ends into the duct system of the kidney. The tubule is divided into three main parts based on its function. The proximal convoluted tubule, which is this part of the tubule shown in the light blue color. Then we have the loop of Henle, which is shown in dark blue color. And finally, we have the distal convoluted tubule, which is this part of tubule here shown in orange color. The distal convoluted tubule in turn ends into the collecting duct. So the first part of the tubule is known as the proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal because it is close to the Bowman's capsule, and convoluted meaning it is a highly folded structure that helps to increase the overall length of the tubule in a small space. The proximal tubule is located in the cortex of the kidney. The proximal tubule leads to the loop of Henle, which is the second main part of the renal tubule. This region forms a loop that is located in the renal medulla. The loop has a descending limb and an ascending limb. The ascending limb of loop of Henle leads into the distal convoluted tubule. Distal meaning away, since it is located far from the Bowman's capsule as compared to the proximal tubule, and convoluted since it is also a folded structure to increase the overall length of the tubule. The distal convoluted tubule drains into the collecting duct, which also receives input from many other nephrons in the region. The collecting duct drains into the larger collecting ducts and ultimately into the renal pelvis, which is connected to the ureter. The ureter drains the kidney to the bladder. The distal convoluted tubule is also located in the cortex of the kidney. Now, depending upon the length of the loop of Henle, we have two types of nephrons in the kidney. One type of nephron that have short loops of Henle, and these are known as the short cortical nephrons. Cortical because a major portion of these nephrons is located in the cortex of the kidney. These are short and comprise about 80% of the total nephrons. The other type of nephrons that we have in our kidney are known as the juxtamedullary nephrons, which have long loops of Henle that are mostly present in the medulla of the kidney. These two types of nephrons can concentrate urine up to different osmolarities that we will discuss when we talk about the function of nephron. These are 20% in number. Now, along the whole length of the nephron runs this network of small blood vessels known as capillaries that brings in impure blood containing many waste metabolic products and takes out pure blood that has been filtered by the nephron. The impure blood or the arterial blood comes into the kidney via the renal artery, and the pure blood which has been filtered of all the metabolic and other waste products goes back to the body via the renal vein. So this was about the structure of nephron. Next, let's have a look at its basic function. So the nephron uses 4 main mechanisms to convert blood into urine, which are filtration, reabsorption, secretion, and excretion. Now I have seen most of the biology teachers here on YouTube, and what they do is they just explain what is filtration, what is reabsorption, what is secretion, and job done. This is how urine is formed. Well, not quite right. See, in this video we will understand the mechanism of urine formation in a better way. We will look at how the blood is filtered at the level of renal corpuscle, and then we will understand how the urine moves forward in the renal tubule and how different mechanisms like reabsorption and secretion apply in different parts of the renal tubule. So the blood enters the kidney via the renal artery. This is a large artery and a branch of aorta. After entering the kidney, the renal artery gets divided into many small divisions until it reaches the smallest one that enters the nephron. This is the afferent vessel that brings the blood into the glomerulus, and this is the blood vessel that takes the blood out of glomerulus, and this is known as the efferent blood vessel. In between these afferent and efferent blood vessels is a jumbled up mass of capillaries that is known as the glomerulus. Like we discussed earlier, glomerulus is derived from the word glomer, which means a ball of thread. The glomerulus is a tuft of blood vessels that is located inside the Bowman's capsule. This tuft of vessels greatly increases the surface area for filtration that comes in contact with the Bowman's capsule. And this is where the first mechanism of urine formation takes place, that is known as the filtration. And to understand the filtration at this side, you have to know a little bit about the glomerular filtration barrier. So if you take this part of the renal corpuscle and look at its microscopic view, it would look something like this. This is the wall of the blood vessel. Outside this is the basement membrane of the glomerulus, which is in contact with the wall of the Bowman's capsule. The wall of the Bowman's capsule contains special type of cells which are known as podocytes. And between these podocytes we have small gaps, as you can see, and these are known as the filtration slits. Together, these 3 layers form the glomerular filtration barrier that acts like a filter paper. So we have blood coming in this blood vessel that gets filtered through this glomerular filtration barrier to form the impure plasma that is passed down into the renal tubule. The glomerular blood pressure provides the driving force for water and solutes to be filtered out of the blood plasma and into the interior of the Bowman's capsule called the Bowman's space. Only about 1/5 of the plasma is filtered in the glomerulus, and the rest passes into the efferent arteriole. The things that do not get filtered are things like red blood cells or larger molecules like proteins. Also, one important thing you should note here is the difference in the diameter of the afferent and the efferent blood vessel. As you can see, the efferent vessel is of smaller diameter as compared to the afferent vessel, which means that the blood is coming in through a vessel of larger diameter and leaving through a vessel of smaller diameter. This increases the pressure inside the glomerulus, which provides a driving force which makes this filtration possible. The kidneys can adjust the rate of glomerular filtration by adjusting the pressure inside the glomerulus, and this is all possible because the diameter of afferent and efferent blood vessels can be adjusted. The plasma that gets filtered into the Bowman's space is known as the glomerular filtrate. The glomerular filtrate next moves into the renal tubule, where it is further processed to form urine. This further processing is very important as the initial glomerular fluid that is filtered into the Bowman's space contains a lot of things that shouldn't be excreted out with urine, like sodium chloride, glucose, amino acids, and excess water. The first part of renal tubule is the proximal convoluted tubule, where approximately 2/3 of the filtered salts and water, almost all glucose and amino acids, are reabsorbed. We don't want to lose glucose. That's hard-earned stuff that we ate that was good for energy. We don't want to lose necessarily as much sodium chloride as well. This is achieved by the method of reabsorption. The whole length of the renal tubule is surrounded with blood vessels which are known as the peritubular capillaries. Whatever that gets reabsorbed is then passed back into the blood circulation. Now this is known as reabsorption and not absorption because the same nutrients have been absorbed once from your gut into your blood by the similar mechanism. The wall of the renal tubule has many types of protein channels that reabsorb some of the important things that shouldn't be excreted with urine. Now about 70% of sodium chloride gets reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule, and same 70% water gets reabsorbed here. And more than 95% of glucose and amino acids get reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule. Next, the filtrate passes into the loop of Henle. The loop of Henle has some role in reabsorption of important salts, like about 25% of sodium gets reabsorbed here. Similarly, 25% of calcium, 20% of potassium, and about 60% of magnesium gets reabsorbed in the loop of Henle. But the loop of Henle has a major role in the concentration of urine. And this is a complex topic and usually taught at the level of med school physiology, but I'll try to simplify this as much as possible. So pay close attention. So here is our section of kidney, and you can see how the structure of kidney is divided into an outer cortex and an inner medulla. The inner medulla of the kidney is a very important region as this contains higher concentration of salts as compared to the cortex of the kidney. This higher concentration of salts in the medulla is made possible by the loop of Henle of nephrons. So here is our nephron inside the kidney, and you can see how this loop of Henle is present inside the medulla of the kidney, and the rest of the nephron is present up in the outer cortex. The loop of Henle has a descending limb and an ascending limb. So if you look at the ascending limb of loop of Henle, it contains special ion channels that pump out ions like sodium and chloride, thus making the renal medulla more salty or hypertonic. The ascending limb, however, does not allow water to move out, as it has no channels in its wall that allow the water to move out. These types of channels that allow water to move out are known as the aquaporins. And these type of channels are actually present in the descending limb of loop of Henle that makes it freely permeable to water. So now this is all salty, and the water will move out of the descending limb into the renal medulla and then eventually into the blood vessels and gets reabsorbed. And this is the reason why loop of Henle is so long, that is to give time for this water to secrete out. And that is why it dips nice and pretty far down into this salty portion, which is the renal medulla. So this is the major mechanism of gaining back a lot of water that gets filtered up at the level of renal corpuscle. So after the loop of Henle, the water then passes into the distal convoluted tubule, which is this part of the renal tubule. And here we have more reabsorption of ions like calcium and sodium. We are just reabsorbing more things that we didn't want to lose in the first place. There's a lot of things we could talk about what gets reabsorbed here, but this is just the overview. In distal convoluted tubule, the final mechanism of urine formation also takes place, that is known as secretion. You can view secretion as the opposite of reabsorption. In secretion, the waste ions and hydrogen ions pass from the capillaries into the renal tubule. This is the final step in the formation of urine, during which walls of the tubule actively remove waste substances which are harmful to the body from the blood that have escaped filtration. The secreted ions combine with the remaining filtrate and become urine. The major substances secreted into the distal convoluted tubule include hydrogen ions, potassium ions, and ammonium ions. The mechanism of secretion also takes place in the proximal convoluted tubule, but to a lesser extent. And some important stuff that gets secreted into the proximal convoluted tubule include substances like urea, uric acid, creatine, ammonium ions, and some other drugs. Then at the end right here, we have our filtrate that has been processed. A lot of water has been taken out. It's a lot more concentrated. We have reabsorbed a lot of salts, electrolytes, and we have reabsorbed all the glucose and amino acids that we could. This waste fluid then gets dumped into the collecting duct. You can see the collecting ducts like a common drain pipe that collects waste from all the houses in the neighborhood, except in this case where this pipe is the collecting duct and the houses are individual nephrons. The urine in each collecting duct is drained into the renal pelvis, which is this dilated portion of the kidney that is in turn connected to the ureters. The ureters connect the kidney to the urinary bladder that is connected to the urethra.
Now here are the questions which you have to write in the biology note. First question, with the help of a neat label diagram, explain human excretory system. You have to draw the diagram with a pencil, label neatly with the pencil. By using a scale, you have to draw the line on one side or on the either side of the diagram. So do it neatly. Labeling should be done with pencil. Question number 2. With the help of a neat label diagram, explain the structure of nephron. Question number 3. Explain the formation of urine. Question number 4. Define excretion and name the basic filtration unit of kidney. Question number 5. How is the amount of urine produced regulated? Question number 6. Page number 113, that is the end of the chapter, question number 13. The answer for that question I will be giving here, that is to compare nephron in kidney and alveoli in lungs. That is an important question, often asked question. The answer for that I have given here in the slide. You may please copy this answer. Next question, you may write the answer from this slide. Describe in brief the functions of kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder and urethra. Next question, in single-celled organisms, diffusion is sufficient to meet all the requirements of food, exchange of gases or removal of waste, but it is not in case of multicellular organisms. Explain the reason for this difference. You may copy the answer from this slide itself. So with that, we have come to the end of the first chapter, that is life processes. Now you have to read the textbook minimum 2 times. And because remaining topics we had completed in the month of March. Write the answers for all the questions that is given in the textbook. If you have any doubt with any of the answers, or if you don't know the answer, you may just put a message in the group. I will give you the answers for all the questions that you have doubt. And learn that lesson properly. So thank you children. We will see you in the next class.